I realized something pretty neat this morning that I want to try to explain to you with a domino. Because most of us have probably played the game where you set up a bunch of dominoes and you knock the first one down and it knocks them all down. And we call it the domino effect. We're familiar with this. What you might not realize is like the physics nerd reaction to this, that, you know, it takes so little effort to knock over that first domino, but the more dominoes you get, I mean, you can go online and find these crazy videos of people doing tens, hundreds of thousands of dominoes, these massive elaborate deals. And you can actually calculate the total amount of kinetic energy that's released by all of those dominoes falling. But it's that one little flick that starts all of it and leads to this massive thing. And it actually can go farther than that because they've proven that a single domino can knock over another one that's 50% bigger than it. So I didn't measure it, but let's say this guy's 2 inches tall. It could knock over a 3 inch domino, and that can knock over a 4.5 inch domino. And that doesn't sound like it's doing all that much, but it builds really fast. And by the 18th domino, it's taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Like, it only takes that long. By the 31st, it's taller than Mount Everest. Like, this grows so fast. And it's that progression, that just building and building and building, is what I wanted to look at. Because I believe this is what it's like following God and just responding to God. Because, like, when God nudges you and, like, is telling you to do something, and you say yes on whatever, something small, that makes it that much easier. That positions you to say yes to a bigger thing next. That lets you say yes to a bigger thing next. And this is how you get to those stories that we see of like someone who does some incredible, amazing thing for God, and we're just blown away and going, I have no idea how they even did that. I couldn't even imagine doing that. They must just be something different than I am. Well, they didn't start there. Like, they started out with small things, and over time, like choice after choice, and saying yes and saying yes and saying yes, they built up to where God's doing incredible things through their life. There's a couple problems with that. The first one is that so many churches don't seem to. We won't let people start out with a 2 inch domino that's an effortless flick to knock it down. We want people to do the things that it's like, 6 or 10 dominoes down the line, that this takes a lot of effort. And when you're starting out with somebody who doesn't have the track record, that's hard and they fail. Like, it needs to be okay for people to start small. We need to start with this, like, acknowledge God. Like, even, is there God? And then saying that God cares and speak to God. Can you then start praying, and you can start reading the Bible, and you can start being in Christian community and going to church, or whatever things you think are so important. Like, those are 5 and 6 dominoes in. We got to let people start small. That needs to be okay. The other problem is that this progression works the other way around. If you're saying no to God, when God is trying to lead you, and you tell him no, and let's use the example of like something that God is saying not to do, and you reject that and do it anyway. Well, that makes it that much easier to do the next thing, and that makes it easier to do the next thing, and they can grow and grow and grow exactly the same way. We know this story. Like, probably every one of us can tell the story of like a point in our lives where we kind of came to our senses and went, how did my life even get here? I have never intended for things to look like this. And it happens a small decision at a time. And that's how you get the stories of people who do utterly horrific things. And we say the same exact stuff we said about the amazing godly person. That it's like, I don't know how they did that. I couldn't imagine doing that. They're something different than I am, that's for sure. And they didn't start with that big thing. They started with small things and built over time. And it's this progression is so important. And we're here at the end of the year. It's a great time to examine your life, to look back over the past month, over the past year, and see, what is my own progression? What direction am I moving? What are the habits and the consistent choices that I'm making? Because I don't know who first said the line, but it's quite true that we are what we consistently do. Your choices and your repeated actions are leading you in some direction. And If you don't like that direction, then turn to God and start looking for that 2-inch domino. Find something that you can say yes to enable you to say a bigger yes, to enable a bigger yes. And God can absolutely make that switch and take you into amazing things. You just have to consistently say yes.